Hey guys, what's up? This is Bpoomer. I'm going to be cutting this video relatively short because I'm on a little bit of a time crunch right now. Sorry about that. And also, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to cover everything because I am. Today we're going to be actually discussing something that happened in the 1800s, so that should be interesting. And let's get on to the video. I hope you guys enjoy. In 1880, James and Eva Howe moved to Fort Collins, where they eventually built a small one-story bungalow on Walnut Street. Eva was a dark-eyed beauty with a sweet and forgiving disposition. James was a millwright of a great skill, but he had an issue with drinking. Eva was very devoted to James and had been married to him for over 15 years, but she finally reached a point in 1888 where she could take no more of the mean streak that came upon him when he was drunk. And, well, he kind of beat her when he was drunk. You know where this is going. On Tuesday, April 3rd, James beat Eva so badly that she finally went to the police. They wanted to put him in custody, but she insisted that all she wanted was someone to stay near the house so that she could get help if needed. On Wednesday, she begged James to stay home and not go out drinking. But he didn't listen. He went out anyway. That's when Eva decided that she had to get herself to safety. She was in the process of packing up her things when James arrived home unexpectedly, pretty damn drunk. Not exactly the best situation. I think you guys know where this is going. He was pretty pissed that Eva was leaving him, so he knocked Eva about until she fell out of the front door of the house. Though it was hard to hear her over the strong winds that day, and neighbors still heard Eva's cries of "Murder! Murder!" and they went to investigate. But by the time of his arrival, James had knocked Eva to the ground, stood over her, and stabbed her in the neck. Eva rose, stumbled around the gate, and headed towards Linden Street, continuing to cry out until she met her demise. The neighbors who had actually witnessed all of this firsthand went to check on her, and one of them ran to grab a doctor, while the others went into the house and found James sprawled out on the bed, covered in blood. At first, James actually tried to claim that Eva tried to stab him with a knife, but that didn't really work because everyone knew that was bullshit, so they dragged him off to the jailhouse. Eva was dead by the time the doctor came already, so he was too late. James had hit her jugular vein, and she quickly bled out and died pretty damn fast. Later that evening, the lights to the entire city went out. Soon after, a mob broke into the jail, busted open all the locks, and dragged James out to the street. In fear and remorse, James cried out for mercy, but the mob dragged him over to the courthouse on West Oak Street, and there hung him on a gallows that had been prepared for that purpose. It was the only lynching ever to take place in Fort Collins. The temperance movement had been active in Fort Collins for almost 10 years at this point. The story of James and Eva Howe became a temporary focal point for the movement, which saw alcohol as the root of many evils. Their efforts stuttered along for almost two decades until in 1909, Fort Collins became a dry town. It remained that way until the law was repealed in 1968. Eventually, another family moved into this house that had been home to the Howe family. And as the city grew and businesses needed more space in the center of town, the Howe house was lifted from its foundation and moved. It was hauled just a few lots over to the intersection of Walnut and Chestnut. And today, the new Elizabeth Hotel is there. And then in the 1950s, it was moved to a neighborhood that was like on the edge of town, where it still stands today. But it's no longer the edge of town anymore. You can still see the Howe house today, and it looks almost exactly as it did back when Eva and James lived there. One of the front doors was covered over, but you can still see the faint outline of the door still visible just behind the trellis. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I know that was very, very short. I wanted to keep this very brief. What goes around comes around, really. I mean, you stab your wife in the neck and you're gonna get dragged off by a mob and hung. There really isn't much to say here, but I guess another thing that's worth noting is if getting drunk causes issues for you, and it's subjective. You could drink and almost nothing could happen to you, or you could drink and you could turn into a completely different person. It's all subjective, but if it turns you into that kind of person, you probably shouldn't be drinking. It's interesting to cover something that happened in the 1800s, rather something that's really new, and I hope you guys really enjoyed it. Please comment down below, subscribe, and like the video, and so I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm Bpoomer. Goodbye.